Happy Christmas. Today we are going to discuss three important defamation trials involving celebrities, one each from different jurisdiction. The first case is from UK, the famous trial of Jeffrey Archer. In fact, you have two trials here. I'll come to that little later. The second is involving Mr. Rajiv Gandhi. This is slightly different from the first case because the first case, Jeffrey Archer case, involved both a civil case and a criminal case. Rajiv Gandhi's trial is a simple case of criminal defamation. And the third is that of Rudy Giuliani in United States. All are defamation trials, or they began in a defamation action. I must also tell you that these three jurisdictions, all these jurisdictions are common law countries. But there are different perceptions about these three jurisdictions, even though they belong to the common law family. The United States of America is perceived to be the most litigant-friendly society. I think that's a very nice thing about United States of America. Nobody in United States take things lying down when their rights are violated. And that's a very empowered society. This is the number of litigations in the society is indicative of the level of empowerment of people. People believe that the process of law will work and they go to court. The second is UK. You know that the proverbial expression, British, the biggest imperialists of our times actually so far, okay? And here, the society definitely believes in rule of law, no doubt about it. But for a good part of their time, they have been ruled over by conservatives. There is nothing in the name actually, but nevertheless, let me tell you, you can proudly declare you are a conservative in United Kingdom. This gentleman, Jeffrey Archer, is a conservative MP also, a member of House of Lords at that. And so Britain has its own feudal connotations. And considering that Karl Marx described law as an instrument of oppression in the hands of bourgeois to keep drawing working class, in perpetual bondage. That is the perception, and this man is a conservative member of Lords. So second is a feudal society, which of course believes in rule of law, and they don't encourage litigations the same way the United States does. I can also cite you one more case, a thalidomide case. You Google it. I'm not going to go into it because that's a matter for separate lecture altogether. This is the second case. In Rajiv Gandhi's case, Rajiv Gandhi was not sued for damages. He was prosecuted and punished for 2 years. And as a consequence of this punishment, he had to lose his seat in the member of parliament, in the parliament. And finally, the Supreme Court revoked the sentence and the matter is still not over. So, the last word on Rajiv Gandhi criminal defamation trial is yet to be said. Now, I'll leave that part of it. And the third is the case involving Rudy Giuliani, and this is the judgment that came during December. And you know that Rudy Giuliani is a poster boy for crime prevention. He was one of the smartest district attorneys in the world. He made sure that New York is no more the crime capital of the world. And he became subsequently the mayor of New York, and during 9/11 he was in charge of the things and could tell the American president, man, this is something that took place within my jurisdiction. So I will handle it, and if there is a need, I'll call you. And that's what he said to the US president, and US president respected that. And people even said that this guy is likely to run for American presidency, and very recently, while he was acting for Mr. Donald Trump, he made two defamatory statements against two government servants in Georgia, and they filed a case and recovered, I mean, not recovered, received an order, a punitive order for punitive damages, something like $57 million he has to pay for two people. And now he has declared voluntary bankruptcy because his assets are just about $10 million and his total liabilities are going to be $200 million. And now his chance of becoming the US president, or his ambition of becoming the US president at some point of time, he did say that he will run for US president. So I'm going to talk to you about these three trials. And I'm going to talk in the chronological way. The first is the case of Mr. Jeffrey Archer. This took place between the period 1987 to 1992. Mind you, internet was not that popular as yet. It was there, of course, and the internet penetration in a country like India was very low. Even in United States, very few people used it. Okay, now let me go back into the Jeffrey Archer case. You all know that Jeffrey Archer is a hugely successful British author. He has published several books, and he has sold around 320 million books all over the world, actually. And he married a very accomplished lady and enjoyed a great family life and two children, very accomplished on their own right. Everything about them is great, They typically represented the British upper class aristocracy. Of course, the word aristocracy is quite dubious because even Jeffrey himself, tried to add up non-existing facts to his aristocratic lineage. That's a different issue, but he did buy a peerage and he became a member of House of Lords. Now, what happened is, in 1987, he is known to be sexually active, and you know that our sexual morals and values had undergone a big change in the last 20 years, actually. Okay, a lot of people in United States have been held guilty under the Me Too movement, and some of them have been sent to jail and a lot of things. Now, in 1987, apparently Jeffrey Archer paid for sex. He had a consensual relation with the sex worker, paid her money, and it's not a bad thing. I mean, people may not admit that they have done it, but it's not a violation of law. And considering that most of the politicians are alpha males, okay, it's nothing unusual for people who are successful in politics to have multiple sex partners, okay? For example, people say an average French woman during her 30 years of actual sexual life, they have something like 7 to 11 partners. Whereas in a country like India, the figure will be less than 1.5, okay? You understand? Because people's values differ. He paid for sex, and one of the newspapers, I think Sun, reported that, and Mr. Jeffrey Archer denied that, and he filed a defamation case against the Sun. He was able to fudge witnesses. He made one of his friends to provide an alibi witness, and he asked her personal secretary to fudge the details. And they filed a case, and based on what I call evidence which was created, which was false, Mr. Jeffrey Archer managed to get a decree for £500,000 plus cost. He even recovered the money. Okay, otherwise the company would have gone bankrupt actually. Okay. Now everything was good, and Mayor Jeffrey Archer was able to take on the tabloid press, which the British royal family could not do. So he became some kind of a poster boy, and he was collecting money for the Kurdish rebels in Iraq, and he was planning to run for the mayor of London. Things were going wonderfully good for him. But in 1992, it turned out that Jeffrey Archer directed this personal secretary to fudge the detail. Lies, in my language, there is a proverb that says, the most intelligent man's lie will stand exposed in 8 days. If you are not so intelligent, well, in a couple of days, it will be known here. I mean, in my language, there is another nasty proverb that says that if you fart under the water, it will bubble over the surface. Okay. So, Jeffrey Archer's lie came. You wouldn't expect a tabloid press to take these things lying down. They sued him for perjury. And unfortunately for him, at that point of time, Britain was ruled by Labour. And this man is a conservative guy, and that too a prospective candidate for the post of Mayor of London. And they went against him with a vengeance, and he was prosecuted for perjury on several counts of perjury. Multiple imprisonments were handed over to him, some of them maximum sentences, 4 years, and mercifully for him, all these sentences were to run concurrently, and the judge also told him that he will have to serve at least half of the sentence before he qualify himself for parole. Okay? And Jeffrey really served a 2-year sentence, and he made the best use of it, and he wrote 2 best-selling anthologies, Prison Diaries, and everything was fine actually. Okay. Now the point I'm trying to tell you here is that the guy who won the court convicted him. He had to pay back that 500,000 pounds that he received from the Sun. Okay. So, and he had to serve about 2 years sentence, and mercifully for him, he managed to save his marriage and family life. He has not become a recluse, but he is not so active as he was in the political arena, and his books sell well, and he doesn't have to sell any more books. This is case one. The second case is Rajiv Gandhi's case. So, the moral of the story is, if you win a defamation case, that's not the end of the matter. Rahul Gandhi case is an interesting case. During an election speech in Karnataka, he asked a question, why all the thieves have Modi as their surname? And this was spoken in Karnataka, and Modi is not particularly a caste name, and he was trying to defame Mr. Narendra Damodar Das Modi, who is the Prime Minister of India. But Prime Minister of India is too smart a guy, and he has been a hardcore politician. He thought that he will ignore it and instead set up some person from Bharatiya Janata Party to file a defamation case against Rahul Gandhi in the state of Gujarat, where he was the chief minister for 20 years, and the judiciary obliged Rajiv Gandhi with a 2-year sentence. The consequence was that he was he was removed from Lok Sabha membership, and he was evicted unceremoniously. And the efforts of Rahul Gandhi, to reduce the sentence and escape this disqualification failed in the criminal appellate court, the district court there, sessions court, and again in the high court. And luckily when it came to the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court saw through this game and said that the conviction of 2 years is excessive. Okay, this is the second case, but the last word on this has not been said. They'll have to pronounce on the finding of holding of guilty, the trial court trial. Okay, so that's the second case. So here again, I find that the defamation laws, criminal defamation laws, were misused. Okay. And the Indian, I don't blame the executive. I don't blame the politician. I think it is the trial judiciary and even the higher judiciary in Gujarat was an explanation to the rest of India as to why Mr. Rahul Gandhi deserved a 3-year sentence, 2-year sentence, okay, for an act of defamation, which I think is still debatable. The third is the case of Rudy Giuliani. I mentioned about him, and he was a lawyer. This is a case involving the qualified privilege defense available to a lawyer. Unfortunately, this defamation Mr. Rudy Giuliani did in his capacity as the lawyer for Donald Trump, besides being a Republican who was aggrieved by the last election results where Joe Biden having won by the popular vote, blah, 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 a lot of things, I don't get into that. Now here again, Mr. Rudy Giuliani, in the course of discharge of duties against state of Georgia, accused two government servants of what I call creating false document, helping to cast dubious, bogus votes, and prejudiced against Trump to ensure that the results were manipulated and everything turned out to be false. And Minister Giuliani, in a civil case, that they are against two government servants who had no opportunity to speak back. If I had been a lawyer, I'll speak back. And thereafter, they filed a case in Georgia, and there the court has ordered compensation to the tune of about $57 million for intentional infliction of emotional distress. This is the actual cause of action. This is slightly different from defamation, but it comes under this, what I call, genus of defamation law. Acquisition, which was a representation, which was false, which was circulated. Unfortunately for Rudy Giuliani, he fell out with Donald Trump. Donald Trump did not give these instructions, and he promptly distanced himself from these defamatory allegations, and once he knew that it is not sustainable. So he acted as a lawyer on behalf of a celebrity client, and in a normal course, if he had exercised due care and diligence, he wouldn't have been sued at all because he is entitled for the defense of qualified privilege. Now, the net result is he is facing from two people damages decree of more than $100 million, compelling him to approach the insolvency courts of United States, where he will have a reasonable right to manage his assets, okay, voluntary bankruptcy, okay. So for about a year or so, he will have better control over his resources, and you can say that Mr. Rudy Giuliani will meet the same fate that Jeffrey Archer meet. He will be allowed to retire into sunset in a dignified way. And in respect of Rahul Gandhi, the last word is not said yet. You don't know how the people of India is going to react to this defamation conviction. Well, everybody, even though I voted Modi in the past, I thought that the Gujarat judiciary has not given Mr. Rahul Gandhi a fair trial. Okay. Well, I think I told you that in my lecture that defamation cases are time wasters. Okay. Jeffrey Archer won, but he paid dearly. Rahul Gandhi lost. You don't know what is going to happen to him. And Rudy Giuliani got caught in a way from which he cannot escape. So, I thought I will share these developments and then tell you I have put up two important courses on law of torts. These courses are available in Udemy platform. These courses are about 8 hours, two different courses and total video time of about 8 hours. We discuss contemporary developments in that lecture, and it will be particularly useful for those people who take civil services examination, national education testing examination, and judicial services recruitment, and even Bar Council of India qualifying exam. I am giving you discounted links for enrollment to these courses, and please do enroll, subscribe, share, and everything. Thank you very much.